The night the old security guard asked me that question, I didn't just discover my wife's betrayal. I discovered the men who were planning to bury me alive, financially, legally, and permanently. Chicago, 11:42 p.m. Rain slid down the windshield of my black Audi as I pulled into the underground garage of our downtown high-rise. The city lights reflected off the concrete walls like distorted memories. Emily had texted me at 9:07 p.m. Still at the office, big case, don't wait up, heart. The heart emoji almost made me smile. Almost. I stepped out of the car and locked it. My footsteps echoed. That's when I saw Frank, the old night security guard, standing near the elevator. Frank had been working this building for over 20 years. Vietnam vet, quiet, observant, the type of man who notices patterns. Tonight he looked unsettled. He walked toward me slowly. "Evening, Mr. Carter," he said. "Frank." He hesitated, then lowered his voice. "Is that really your wife?" I frowned. "What?" He swallowed. "You should see this before it's too late." Something in his tone told me this wasn't gossip. It was a warning. Inside the security room, the monitors glowed blue in the darkness. Frank rewound the footage. 8:12 p.m. The lobby doors opened. Emily walked in. But she wasn't alone. Victor Calder followed right behind her. My boss, CEO of Calder Financial Group, the man who just promoted me to Senior Strategic Director last month. His hand rested on the small of her back. Not professional, not accidental, intimate. I felt my pulse slow down instead of speed up. That's the thing about me. Under pressure, I get quiet. They walked to the elevator. She pressed the penthouse button. We lived on the 27th floor. The penthouse belonged to Victor. The timestamp burned into my memory. Because at 9:07 p.m., she texted me she was still at the office. Frank switched camera angles. Penthouse hallway. Victor unlocked the door. Emily stepped inside first. He followed. Door closed. Frank stopped the footage. "I'm sorry," he said, "but I wasn't listening anymore." Because something clicked. This wasn't random. Victor had been pushing certain investment approvals through me recently. High-risk offshore allocations. He insisted they were confidential. Emily, a corporate attorney, had suddenly taken interest in asking about my company's internal audit schedule. At the time, I thought she was just being supportive. Now I understood. This wasn't just an affair. This was positioning. And I was standing exactly where they wanted me. In the middle. Holding signatures. Holding responsibility. Holding the liability. I turned to Frank. "Does anyone else know?" "No." "Has this happened before?" He hesitated. 3 times this month.
That didn't hurt. What hurt was realizing how carefully planned this was. I looked at the screen one more time. Then I smiled. Not because it was funny, but because they had made one mistake. They assumed I was emotional. I'm not. I'm strategic. "Frank," I said calmly, "can you make me a copy of that footage?" He stared at me for a second, then nodded. That night, I didn't go upstairs. Instead, I sat in my car in the darkness and replayed every conversation from the last 6 months. Victor increasing my authority. Victor isolating me from certain board members. Victor insisting I personally approve certain transfers. Emily suddenly encouraging me to trust him more. They weren't just sleeping together. They were building a case, a future scandal.
And I was supposed to be the fall guy. Fraud, money laundering, financial misconduct, 10 to 15 years in federal prison. That's what they were preparing for me. The affair was just the distraction. The real betrayal was bigger, much bigger. I checked my phone. Another text from Emily. "Long night, probably stay over at a colleague's place. Love you." I stared at the message. Then I typed back, "No problem, be safe." My reflection in the windshield didn't look like the same man anymore. It looked colder, sharper, focused. If they wanted a war, they just declared it. And they have no idea who they're fighting.
Next morning, I acted normal. That's the key to survival. You don't explode, you observe. Emily came home around 7 a.m. wearing the same dress from the footage. She looked tired, but not guilty. "Long night?" I asked calmly. She forced a smile. "You have no idea." Oh, I had every idea. At the office, Victor called me into his glass-walled office. He looked confident, relaxed. "Big opportunity coming," he said, "but I need you to personally approve a series of offshore reallocations, sensitive stuff." There it was again. Offshore, sensitive, my signature. I nodded like a loyal soldier. "Send it over." By noon, the files hit my inbox. Large transfers, shell companies, foreign accounts. If this exploded, my name would be the one investigators saw first. Not his, mine.
That's when I knew something chilling. The affair wasn't the betrayal. I was the insurance policy. If the fraud got exposed, I'd go to prison. Victor keeps his empire. Emily keeps her lifestyle. And I disappear. That night, I didn't confront her. Instead, I called an old college friend, Daniel Mercer, forensic accountant, the kind of man who sees ghosts in spreadsheets. "I need you to quietly audit Calder Financial," I said. "Why?" "Because I think I'm being set up." Silence on the other end. Then, "How deep you want me to dig?" "All the way." 2 days later, Daniel called back. His voice wasn't calm. "It's worse than you think." My grip tightened on the phone. "How worse?" "They've been routing illegal funds for months, and every approval traces back to your authorization ID. My stomach didn't drop. It hardened. Emily walked into the kitchen while I was still on the call. She smiled at me, the same smile that once made me feel safe. Now it looked rehearsed. Daniel continued quietly. "If this blows up, you're the one wearing cuffs." I looked at my wife and realized something terrifying. They weren't just cheating on me. They were planning my destruction. And now, I wasn't fighting for love. I was fighting for survival.
That night, I stayed awake. Emily slept, unaware. Victor thought I was oblivious. I reviewed the footage again. Every detail, every touch, every smile. Calculated, planned. I sent encrypted messages to Daniel. Start tracing every dollar. No mistakes. The plan was simple. Wait, gather evidence, and strike where it hurts the most. Next morning, Emily asked about my late-night thoughts. "Just tired," I said calmly. Inside, I was already preparing my counterattack. They didn't know the storm was coming.
2 days later, Daniel called. "Carter, they've been laundering millions through shell accounts linked to your approval codes. This is bigger than you thought." I leaned back in my chair. Calm, focused, cold. Emily walked in, humming. I nodded at her like nothing was wrong. They thought I was blind, foolish, naive. But I wasn't. I had the evidence. And now, I had patience.
That night, I set up a hidden recorder in our bedroom. Victor and Emily had no idea. The next evening, Victor called her, whispered plans, laughed about how Carter would never suspect a thing. I sat in the dark, listening. Every word, every lie, every plot. They were confident, too confident. That's when I knew I had the upper hand. Patience was mine. Strike time was coming. I spent the next week playing the perfect husband. Smiles at dinner, polite conversations, pretending nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, Daniel traced every transaction, every email, every secret deal. Victor and Emily were planning their next move, thinking I was still in the dark. Little did they know, I was building my own weapon. Evidence, strategy, revenge. And when the time came, it would be unstoppable.
The day arrived. Victor walked into the office, smug as ever, Emily by his side, smiling like nothing could touch them. I stayed calm, collected, every move rehearsed. Board members gathered, phones out, cameras rolling. I pressed play on the recordings. Victor's own voice, Emily laughing, their secret dealings exposed. Shock, panic, rage. And I stayed silent, letting the truth do the work.
Victor tried to speak. His words stumbled, rage in his eyes. Emily stepped forward, pleading, "It's not what it looks like." I cut her off with a calm smile. "No, it's exactly what it looks like." The board called legal. Phones rang off the hook. Investigators were already on their way. Victor's empire, built on lies and betrayal, began to crumble in real time. And Emily? She realized too late that I wasn't just hurt, I was calculating. 3 days later, federal agents raided Victor's office and seized his assets. Emily's name surfaced in documents. Her license was frozen, her career in ruins. I watched it all unfold quietly, like a predator observing prey finally caught in its own trap. No screams, no chaos in my home, just justice, delivered slowly, precisely. And the best part? They never saw me coming. By the time Emily and Victor realized everything was gone, I was already free. Divorce finalized, assets untouched, reputation intact. Victor, facing years in federal prison. Emily, stripped of her career, exposed for her lies. I didn't celebrate. Revenge isn't about joy. It's about balance. I walked past Frank in the parking garage one last time. "You okay?" he asked. "I am now," I said. Because the men who thought they could destroy me never understood one thing. The most dangerous man is the one who waits, watches, and strikes quietly. And I had waited, I had watched, and I had won.